Hi, I'm Jessica Parker. I'm a holistic health coach with a master's in health psychology and a fitness instructor. I teach PIO and bar, which I love. And I am here to talk about keto. This is something I've talked a lot about in the past on Facebook primarily, but I wanted to chat about it because I have an upcoming group and I've been hearing some questions. So, two things that I want to touch on are, is it safe? Because there's a lot of information out there, there's negative and positive, and you just want to make sure you're doing the right thing, right? I mean, it's your body, it's your health. And then the other one is how, if I want to do keto, but I don't necessarily want to go cold turkey, how do I ease into it? What are some good tips? So, is it safe? It's a very legit, really good question. The first thing that I want to clear up is that there is this whole thing called ketoacidosis, and people can get that confused with just going into ketosis nutritionally, and they're two totally different things. If you're experiencing ketoacidosis, that is a health issue. It's very serious, and you cannot actually get yourself to that point by doing nutritional ketosis. So I am going to leave it at that. Please Google it, look it up. Two totally different things, but it's easy to confuse them, obviously, because the terms are very similar. So with keto, just a quick little snapshot in case you don't know, but it's about your macronutrients and controlling them in a sense in order to get your metabolic process to change. So you are going from surviving off of glucose, carbs, sugar to fat and ketones, which I will say our brains love ketones. And when you are using ketones and fat for fuel, they're much cleaner. When we are using carbs, glucose, sugar, there's a lot of just crap that is left over from processing that. And so it's like garbage gets left, and that can cause inflammation. That's one issue. So in a lot of different ways, our blood sugar and insulin can kind of get out of control, as y'all know. I know this is something everybody knows. And then that can lead to inflammation. So one of the big things with keto is reducing inflammation. So I hear all the time that people start following keto and they're like, oh, I just feel light, I feel a little more energetic, I feel less puffy, and that has to do with reducing inflammation and the fact that when you're not taking in all those carbs carry a lot of water, then you're not storing all of that. And so you might even notice, if you're somebody that has kind of fluid retention issues going on, you might notice that changes. So but is it safe aside from just the ketoacidosis thing that we just talked about? So people are always like, we need carbs. Oh my gosh, we need carbs. Well, do we? Think about that for a minute. And I just really encourage people to stop and think back to history and think back about the Industrial Revolution and how food was before and then after. And keto is very much, as long as you're doing it, in my opinion, the healthy way, the right way, if I can say that, as long as you're eating whole nutrient dense foods, then that's really how your great grandparents ate, right? Farm to table. They didn't have cereal and chips and all kinds of bread and cereal and cookies and all the things. And then when we say we need it, well, a lot of that is just training from the food industry. And then some of it is because we want it. We do. I love carbs. I do love carbs. So I just really encourage people to kind of step back a little bit and look at what's really going on here. Now, our bodies do need glucose, but we don't need the amount that we're putting into our body. In fact, clearly it's too much. We have just an epidemic with blood sugar and insulin and all of that and all the things that are tied to it. So please, I would really encourage people to think about it in a different way instead of keto bad, And you don't even have to do keto. Even just like if you're gonna do something, at least like put down the crap. Like stop getting the fast food. Like don't do it. Don't do it for so many different reasons, not just like carbs. Oh my gosh. Stop eating like all this processed stuff that you don't even know what's in it. Like stop. Your body will thank you. So it's really about like back to the basics. It really is. Now, in my opinion, there are other ways to make it right or wrong, and it depends on your body, it depends on you. This is why I focus primarily on women, because our bodies are very sensitive when it comes to hormones. We have thyroid stuff like just through the roof, and a lot of us are stressed out. We carry stress differently, and so a lot of us have adrenal issues, which that basically means that if you have chronic stress going on, and I am talking about the daily stuff, like I have too many things to do in this amount of time, I'm too spread thin, I can't sleep, I have things on my mind all the time, I am juggling, I just have too many balls in the air. If you're like not resting enough and not saying no enough and not replenishing enough, that will very, very, very easily lead to adrenal fatigue, which I'm not going to go into this too much. I'll do another video about it, but it's not the best term because your adrenals don't actually get tired, but it's just a matter of like too much cortisol getting pumped out, and it's a communication between your adrenal and your brain, and then there's kind of a breakdown. It's like somebody starts waving the white flag, and then your circadian rhythm gets messed up, so you might be like surviving off of coffee all day long, like just like please somebody put an IV in, and then you get to the evening and you're like wanting to relax and you can't, and so maybe you drink some wine or something like that, and then maybe you go to bed and then bing, like you're awake and you can't shut it down. So that is classic with adrenal issues. And then cortisol, so we like we'll get the belly fat going on. Those are hallmark signs of adrenal fatigue, but definitely the wired and tired, like just feeling like jacked up, you know, like you can't rest when you need to, but then you're dragging when you need energy. So anyway, so with the fact that our hormones are very sensitive, you do have to be careful. And I mean, you do with anything, right? So it's not just keto. But with keto, when you're really peeling back your carbs that much, I am not a fan of these black and white rules. Like, must have 20 grams of carb or less. No. You can absolutely put yourself in a situation, especially depending on where you're at already, if you're already stressed out, if you're already dealing with some of this stuff, and then you add that onto it. I'm going to tell you, for a minute, you're going to feel pretty good, and you're going to have this kind of like high, like a natural high, where you're like, oh, man, I feel energetic, I'm focused, like the brain fog is gone. But then you can start feeling almost like you're like on a caffeine high or something like that. And this isn't good. This is when it's too much cortisol, and that's when your body kicks in. It's like, okay, I need some glucose. Now, your body makes it. Your body will make it. So that's not really, you'll hear people say like, you have to have carbs. Well, I do think depending on where you're at in your like stress levels and things like that, it's a good idea to have some. So I never like make myself go less than 20. I feel it. I feel my body going, I'm starting to get a little like, I don't know if anxious, it might feel like anxiousness, but, and then you might even end up gaining weight. I've heard so many women like, what is going on? I'm doing all the things right. Okay, well, I'm just going to lower my carbs even more, and I'm going to peel back my calories until they're like nothing. But then I'm gaining weight. Well, that's because you're freaking your body out. So regardless of if it's keto or some other anything, it's not a good idea to freak your body out. So we're not going to extremes in that sense. I know everybody thinks like getting rid of carbs is extreme. We're not totally getting rid of them. We're switching it up. We're going to be eating healthy, nutrient dense, whole foods and less of the carbs. It's not going to be like the triangle where it's, you know, the food pyramid. It's all topsy-turvy with the standard American diet. So it needs to turn back around, and the carbs need to be down or on the tippy top, not down below. So you can have a little bit, but make sure that they're the good quality, like get gluten out of your diet, go for, you know, like sweet potatoes and a little bit of fruit. Yes, you can have fruit on keto, some starchy veggies. I'm a big fan of lots of veggies on keto. So we need to get all those like micronutrients in too. So macronutrients are like your protein, fat, carbs. Micronutrients are all those vitamins and minerals that you need. So there is that. If you guys have questions about is it safe or not, cholesterol is a whole nother thing, which makes me twitch a little bit, the information that is out there. I did put a video out about it. I honestly cannot remember if it's on Facebook or on here, but that's something that if anybody's interested, I can share again, because there's a lot of misinformation. I worry, I'm just going to say this one thing, I worry more about people who have low cholesterol than higher cholesterol. Those are the people who are in really like dangerous situations. People who die from heart disease have lower cholesterol. Look it up. So, but I'm not going to go into that. I want to talk about how to ease into keto. So if you're interested, let's say, so I'm starting my group on January 6th. And if you're like, I want to jump into that, but I have these couple of weeks, is it a couple of weeks, 3 weeks? I don't even know. My brain is like on holiday mode. So what I would recommend to make it easier for you, I had actually gone paleo before I went keto. I'm not saying you have to do that. And I'm not going to explain, there's big differences, but, so I had already gotten rid of like the bread and the grains and the like gluten, all that kind of stuff. It's weird hearing myself say that, because I was like, oh, it's dinner. I'm going to have some French bread and wine. Like that's how it used to be. And maybe some hummus with it. And then later I'm going to, like when I went through school, I was writing papers all the time. And so I would like just be having peanut butter M&Ms or whatever. So that's not my life anymore at all. And I don't crave it. I promise you, I don't. It just like, it's magical. But what I would say is start with those big things. Like start with, okay, are you addicted to McDonald's? Okay, we'll start there. Peel back on that. Start learning how you can replace these processed things with whole foods. Start paying attention to ingredients. Start cooking at home a little bit more. If you're addicted to sugar, reduce that. So don't focus too much on like the carbs. If you're wanting to switch over, I would focus more on like eating real food. I would. And if you're like having sandwiches and bagels and waffles and pancakes and stuff like that, then definitely ease out of that. Now, there are a lot of keto foods out there. Like if you're a Pinterest fan like me, there's a lot of like things like that you can make that are like keto friendly. This is a good time to do that. Later on, I would say less of that is better, because you do end up having a lot of dairy, because a lot of those, like the base is like dairy, which I eat dairy. My system is fine with it, but I do notice that a little bit too much, then my body can feel a little inflamed. But that's one thing that, you know, each person is different with that, and it can be highly inflammatory for people. You always have to go for the stuff that doesn't have added hormones, because come on guys, like we have enough stuff jacking up our hormones. So I would definitely just focus on the big things in your life. If it's, I'm having ice cream every night, or I'm having tons of bread or pasta, like find things to replace it. Start there, and then ease your way. So just pick one thing, maybe do it for a few days. When you're ready, start something new. If you have particular things you want to ask me about with that, then please message me and I will help you out. So my group is for women, starts on January 6th, $49. It's 4 weeks. Lots of information, tools, tips, everything to have success with keto. And then you're stuck with me for those 4 weeks in a Facebook group. So you get all the materials. It's in Teachable, and so you can download the materials, print them out, but then I walk through those 4 weeks with you. You'll get annoyed. All right, you guys, have a great evening.